Yeah. All right, let's go. Good morning. Right now, it's 8:50 on a Tuesday. Welcome back, everybody. Kickstart viewers, friends and family. I don't know if a lot of people are back in the swing. It is Giving Tuesday. Last week, we had an interesting week. We had Dr. Chapa in studio, and we had a lot of fun talking about health, nutrition, the holidays. A lot of people were off work. Some people were off school. Some people, worked throughout the week. Either way, right now we're trying to get back in the swing of things. And I've seen a lot of memes, so I know I'm not the only one where people are like, well, now we got to go back to this is life. This is real life. How are you doing? How was your Thanksgiving, Dr. Chapa?
Man, number one, good morning, and so glad that, we got through the holiday so far, successfully.
Yes.
And no one in my family, got sick, and, everybody's been happy. And, there was indulgences, I'm pretty sure, all around for everybody. And, even though I feel like I did really well diet-wise, man, having that 5-day break, it was a little challenging getting back into the swing of things. Just, because my life at the office revolves around a time clock,
Right.
And I feel like Cinderella whenever she the bell goes off and she goes, "Oh, that clock, off to another day." The clock is driving everything, And I think a lot of people kind of felt that, and I felt that energy kind of from folks all day. But at the end of the day, we got through it, and we got through it together. And a lot of people, are following suit exactly as we've been teaching people to do going into Thanksgiving. Coming out of Thanksgiving, we got people on blood sugar reset diets and a 10-day, mini cleanse. It's not an intensive like the Ultimate Detox Experience is going to be in January, which is going to be a hit. It's going to be absolutely awesome, and details of that will continue to flow. But wildly, people are already wanting to get through, getting to Christmas and getting through Christmas by setting their mind on where do they want their health to be in the next 6 months or the next year, and you can start now. I mean, why throw your blood sugar into a frenzy just because it is the holiday? Yes, you can indulge, but why can't it just be a day or two, or 3 or 4 days at the break?
Yeah.
As opposed to we still got 20 days.
I know. There's a couple ways to look at it, though.
Yeah.
You could say, well, I could just take the rest of this year and kind of just go wild, get all the candy, the sweets. They are going to be everywhere. At the office, they're going to be at school, at work, at the house, at the parties. They're going to be everywhere. So temptation is there.
And there's no doubt about it. But, something interesting I observed yesterday. Last night, me and my daughter went to the grocery store to pick up some items that were on the list. And we walked down the candy aisle, and I noticed that it wasn't as packed with candy as what I would have expected. And so I don't know that if it's just maybe. I mean, here's what went through my head, and I know I'm probably wrong. Maybe this is the optimism in me, but I walked down the candy aisle and I go, wow. It doesn't look like it's no holds barred candy everywhere. I mean, yes, there's pastries, and yes, there was cakes and pies and the gingerbread houses and all that stuff. But it really was just a little section that had candy canes and had the different types of candy canes. I mean, it felt like Bubba Gump and Forrest Gump when we got boiled shrimp, we got barbecue shrimp, we got this kind of shrimp and every kind of shrimp.
Ginger snaps, gingerbread, gingerbread man.
That's right. So I walked down there, and I didn't feel like it was this this death trap of sugar. So it made me go, wow, maybe the stores are realizing people aren't buying as much, so they're not carrying as much. That's my hope, right? I mean, maybe that's my optimism. I don't know.
What grocery store were you at?
I was at an HEB. And
they keep it real.
They keep it real. So go HEB. Good job. And so who knows? Maybe maybe they were just on inventory backlog getting somebody.
They're trying to sell turkeys right now.
That's right.
They're like, we got to get rid of these leftover turkeys. Hey, let's go ahead and switch it on the FM. Today is Tuesday, which means we have Dr. Aaron Chapa in studio answering questions, talking about health, nutrition. Detoxing is going to come up, I assume. We probably need it. I could probably use it from last week, Thanksgiving, and Like we mentioned earlier, there's temptation everywhere in December, but January, most people want to buckle down. Why not get a head start?
That's right. I think it's a great plan.
Here we go. Good morning. This is KHEA Radio, 99.5 FM. Right now, it's 8:55 on a Tuesday morning. I got Dr. Aaron Chapa in studio from Living Well Clinical Nutrition Center located in Leak City, Texas.
Absolutely.
Dr. Chapa, what do you handle there at the office?
I mean, we are an alternative medicine clinic where we give people alternatives to drugs and surgery. And so Living Well Clinical Nutrition Center is all about serving the community at a health level for every type of situation that you would go to a doctor for, whether it's migraines, digestive troubles, whether it's infections, earaches, whether it's you got the flu or anything of that nature, stomach bugs. We want to be in the conversation because if we can give you a better alternative to give your body the fuel it needs to support itself through whatever it is you're dealing with, and you could avoid the chemicals and the over prescribed medications that people are getting at the standard level, I found that the body does want to be awesome, and it can adapt very well when given the fuel it needs and the resources it needs to battle out and re-strategize a better option plan, and the body becomes stronger for it. But when we lean on medication as our tool, we actually sabotage and basically find ourselves, in a sense, on crutches with it when it comes to health. And we're trying to not get people into crutches, but to get people off of the crutches, off the walkers, out of the wheelchairs, and to be able to have a body that is adaptive and strategic enough to fight off, ward off, and to free itself of the burdens that what we call symptoms or diseases.
We just got a comment in from Russ. Good morning to you, Russ. Good morning to everybody watching on KHEA's Facebook page. Maybe you're listening on 99.5 FM or you're watching on Channel 46. However you're watching, thank you so much. Feel free to call, text a friend, tell them to tune in. Share this Facebook stream if you are watching on social media.
Absolutely.
We've been talking a bit about detoxing, and I see this comment from Russ that came up. He said, Gardy, the doc talked me into doing the detox. Looking forward to seeing how it's going to work for me. What are we detoxing and what does it entail?
Yeah, so, the detox is going to start in January, but we call it our ultimate detox experience. We do it every year. It's a big event, and it's a way where we can get people that have not really familiar with this word detox and pull them into a conversation of lifestyle modification that they don't realize they need. And we're training people to understand that the same way you take care of your car, the same way that you maintenance your house air filters, or you clean your house, or do your dishes, or do your laundry, there's maintenance always that needs to be done everywhere around us. But we find that we neglect that the body needs to be well maintained as well.
Even more than your car.
Absolutely. More than your pets, believe it or not. I mean, not that your pets don't need the love, because they sure as heck do, but I find patients take better care of their animals than they do of themselves.
Really?
And absolutely. I got people that own horses, and the horses eat better than they do. And if food is medicine, why are we not looking to food as a fuel source? And so when we look at the detox, it's a 21-day vacation from stress and stimulants in our diet, and we give the body the resources and tools to get rid of what it doesn't need, to deburden the accumulated toxic buildup from the year. And this is just, one event. We actually recommend people do this 2 to 3 times a year. Some people, we have them do it way more often, and then every time they get back from a little vacation during the summer months or the spring break or whatever, we get them back on track by dropping a 7 or a 10 or even a 14-day reboot program. And we have blood sugar programs. We have an anti-inflammatory diet programs. And the reason these programs work so well is because people can see that light at the end of a tunnel of a 7-day or a 10-day or a 14-day protocol. So, like, what we're really focusing on right now is, like, blood sugar management. How do we get people ready for the detox so that their body doesn't go through the, all the symptoms of, feeling the caffeine withdrawals, feeling the sugar blues, or feeling their body, working through the mental challenges of why isn't my brain working? Why can't I get the names, numbers, and words out? I want to be sharp. I want to be alive, not tired. I don't want to be tired going to bed and tired when I get up. That is what happens.
And in the middle of the day.
Yeah, that's right. And that's what happens when people. That's actually called the sugar blues. Whenever you feel tired going to bed, tired waking up, and tired in the day. And we have protocols that we're helping people use to change their diets even through the holidays. It doesn't mean that you have to live on a strict, hardcore diet. We're just helping you recognize if you can keep your blood sugar stable, and stability comes through proteins and fat consumption, not bad fats, not the wrong partially hydrogenated fats or the fake make-believe butter fat, but real, quality fats that we can cook with, either through broths. One thing I did on, my mom sent me a Greenberg turkey, and I deboned that baby on Thursday, and I set it all up and took some with us where we were over at my in-laws where we went. But I took we also made some green beans and bacon and chicken broth and lemon pepper and a little bit of Himalayan pink salt in an Instapot, right? And so we let that cook up. Well, I left the broth in there. I took all the cartilage, all the skin, all the bones of the bird, and I threw it all in the Instapot. And then I put, a little bit of my water-filtered water in there, and I added some more salt and some carrots and celery, and I put the lid on. I set the timer for 90 minutes, and 8 hours later when I got back home, that thing was hot still, and but it had already decompressed and cooked, and I strained off the cartilages and the bones and whatnot, and I took the bone broth and I put it in jars and stuck it in the freezer.
What do you do with it? You drink it? Cook with it?
Last night I took leftover turkey, threw it in the bone broth, and I took some carrots, or my wife did this. Thank you, my darling, if you're listening. I love you. And I put celery with it and veggies, and I threw it in the bone broth, and I made a bone broth soup, and it was the easiest meal to make. Everything was practically already cooked, and it tasted fantastic, and it was rich with nutrients. Seriously, it was a great soup. I had 3 bowls of it, and because bone broths are rich in minerals, and because the way we do it, we take the Instapot allows you to do an 8-hour process in 90 minutes. The only reason it took 8 hours for this is because
you were gone.
I was gone.
Yeah,
But how cool was it that I came home and the house smelled great, like of this soup that was stewing, and so that was last night's dinner. I got home and it was a light meal, and then like I showed you just a second ago, I still have leftovers, believe it or not, of a chopped salad. It's cucumbers and cauliflower and broccoli and radishes and bell peppers, and I put some spicy hot peppers in there as well to give it a little kick, and my favorite dressing, and that I'm just eating on that until I eat it all because I didn't want it to go bad. My father-in-law goes, I bet you're not going to be able to eat all this. I made so much for you, and I was so thankful. So thanks, Granddaddy, you're awesome. And that was my breakfast and my lunch yesterday. It's my breakfast this morning and maybe my lunch this afternoon.
Okay, so you said something earlier. If food is medicine, and then you kind of went into another statement, and I think that's how you view food, but a lot of people don't. A lot of people see food as pleasure.
Yeah.
Food is dessert. Food is a way for me to get with friends. Food is not medicine. It's maybe the last thing on their list.
That's right.
How do you switch your mindset?
Well, number one, it's recognizing that if you don't eat, your body deteriorates very quickly. And we live in a world that if you have symptom patterns that you were not genetically born with, that means high blood pressure could be a symptom pattern. Having allergies could be a symptom pattern. Having chronic fatigue, going to bed too tired, waking up too tired, and then it can't get through the day without rocket fuel, whether it's an energy drink or whether it's coffee or whether it's a sugar drink. What you start realizing is, oh, well, I thought this was the natural way of living. And then you hear a news message like this and you say, but he's saying it's not the way it ought to be or has to be. You mean I can have energy all throughout the day? After a long day, 9 o'clock at night, after I've been up, around between 5 and 5:30 every day, yeah, I'm tired at night, but tired is not fatigue. By definition, tired is I just need to go to bed and get rest. Fatigue is I go to bed and I wake up more tired than whenever I went to sleep. That's not good. That means the body didn't do what it's supposed to. And so first, recognizing that you have symptoms that you were not genetically born with, whatever that is. It's okay that you were a child when you developed the thing and you've had it for 30 years, but that doesn't mean you were born with it. So that means anything that your body can develop in the form of a diagnostic disease process or a symptom pattern that is uncomfortable, joint pain in your neck, joint pain in your knees and hips. These are all symptoms of something not going right in your body. And when you start going, you know what, I'm not just getting old. I'm not getting older. I'm not 30. You can't blame it on your age. You got to recognize that something is awry. And you start saying, all right, well, what are my options? What can I do to reset the stage? Can you control the air quality?
No, we can't. Not really.
We really can't.
Mm-hmm.
But can you control the fluids that you put in your body every day?
Yes.
Darn right you can.
Mm-hmm.
So you start asking questions. Well, if I have symptom patterns that I was not genetically born with, and I do have a diagnostic disease process in place that's happening right now that I've been medicated for, what can I do to control my environment for my chemistry? You start looking at your body like a garden. And what are we cultivating? Healthy organ systems that work synergistically together. And so those organs are a healthy heart. Those organs are a healthy liver. Those organs are a healthy spleen, a healthy digestive tract, a healthy adrenal stress management system, or a pelvic organ reproductive system, whatever, a healthy brain, you know what I mean? And so the body is not a one system game. It's a synergy that happens with many departments, and all of them play a part. Wherever your symptom manifests is the upstream or is the downstream cause of something upstream as a glitch in the matrix, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
We've got to go find that splinter, pluck it out, and then all of a sudden set the person free. So some of it's just flat out, we got to re-educate ourselves to, well, what is the purpose of food? So if we look at the very definition of what food is, it is to sustain life. It is to recondition the body's cell structure. It is to give energy and vitality back to the chemistry so that it can repair itself, that it can regenerate itself, and that it can adapt well to life's many challenges. The body, and this is going to sound really crazy coming out of my mouth, but the body is not designed to be healthy. I think when we were east of Eden, it was, but that's why, we lived forever. But west of Eden, and this far west of Eden, where we live in today's world, and that means that the body is a degenerating system. Like
constantly, you kind of reach a peak, and then after that, you're just kind of breaking down.
Yeah, and it's an interesting, world that we live in, being on this time clock. But it is degenerating, so we can't stop it. But what is the body really designed to do? It's designed to adapt. It's designed to leverage and synergize with its environment and where we're at. So, no, we can't control the air quality, but you can control the amount of water you drink. Your body's, females are 57 to 60% water. Men are 60 to 63% water. And yet we drink mostly sodas and coffees and juices and, alcohols as a liquid source, And I'm thinking, whoa. Let's go back a second and say, all right, if the body is primarily made of water, we need to drink primarily water. And so how much water do we drink a day? 1 liter per 50 pounds of body weight. If that's the only change you make today or the only change you make this week, it's better than what you would have done probably.
Yeah, and so if somebody's not doing that, what kind of changes would they potentially see if they started drinking that much water?
And you can Google this guy's book. I can't remember his name, but he's a medical doctor in New York. That he wrote, The Body's Many Cries for Water is the name of the book. It's a PDF now, and it's like 437 pages. And there's summaries of it and this, that, and the other. But the whole message is that he went around and he treated every condition under the sun with water and water only. That was acid reflux, high blood pressure, migraine headaches, allergies, rashes. I mean, everything. He's got a story that water was his treatment and water was his cure. And I look back and go, wow, I mean, could it be that simple? And I remember my own journey. My own journey is when I was 15 years old, I was about 55 pounds overweight, and I was just, I had a wake-up call. I had, somebody make fun of me for being overweight, and it hurt my feelings. So I got my feelings hurt, and instead of retracting and becoming a recluse or a hermit and not being a participant in the game or having a poor old me mentality, I said, well, okay, Chop, what are we going to do to fix that? And so I went home and I looked myself in the mirror after I gave myself a little pep talk and asked myself the question, well, what are we going to do to fix that? I said, what can I control? And literally I go, oh, I can stop lemonade. I can stop sodas. And it was fascinating. Within 3 months, I saw something really remarkable happen. I started exercising more, and I started indulging in water and water only, and I lost every bit of that 55 pounds.
How quickly?
And very quickly, right? And it set my journey on where it is today. And only thing I changed was get rid of the sodas, get rid of the juice. I was walking down the aisle last night with my daughter. As like I said, we were actually both my daughters were with me, and my youngest goes, juice, and she sees the juice, and I'm like, interesting, you know.
That's me.
And yeah, right. And I was like, you don't need that. And sure enough, she goes, well, how come? And I said, well, one of the things I notice about my kids is I don't really give y'all a lot of juice. Like, juice isn't at all. It's not in our home. Like,
yeah.
If we have almond milk, it's unsweetened almond milk. If we have juices, it's our Ultima refresher drinks. It's a powder they make with water, and it's electrolytes, and it's sweetened with stevia, right? Again, everything to manage blood sugar. And so I look back and I listen to patients that come into the office, and I notice that when there's sickness, there's always sugary drinks involved. And so we have to recognize that when we spike the blood sugar in the body, that's when we sabotage the immune system. When we eat a cookie and a Coke, which is easy to do.
It's a normal snack.
It's a normal snack for people.
Afternoon, I'm going to have a cookie and a Coke. I'm not, but I mean, I would.
Yeah, right. And
at least not in front of you, I'm going to admit it.
And in the Garden of Eden, we might eat something like that, right?
Yeah.
I really, anyway, I don't want to rabbit trail, but the juices, the Coke and the cookie, or a juice and a cookie, or whatever the mixture of sugar is, can sabotage your immune system for up to 8 hours. Well, with the weather being, colder, and we live in a damp climate, so it's bone chilling cold even at 40 degrees outside. We're like, ugh, it's not that dry cold. Your immune system's being taxed. Then you put the sugar in, you compound that paralyzed immune system more, and you're setting an environment for infection to take root. Remember, the system is not designed to be healthy, it's designed to adapt. So we've got to create an environment through food and through drink to set up the stage so that your body can ward off the enemy whenever it's lurking in the shadows, because we're all exposed to pathogens and people coughing and hacking on each other all day long, every day, whether you're on an airplane or whether you're in an office suite, or whether you're like me working on patients every day that bring in sick kids or bring in sick adults, or and I had 7 of them yesterday, and it's we get people through those situations. But when you listen to their story was, oh, they went to this place and got into sugar, and more than they would normally get into, and then so and so was coughing all over me as well, and guess what? I got a cold, and my body completely crashed. And I think that is the message: is we got to recognize the germs are out there. We can't get away from them, but we can give our bodies the resources, the fuel, and the tools to ward off those germs so that they don't take root. So instead of eating the cookie and the Coke, and let's say that you're addicted, then do half the cookie, half the Coke today, and then fill up the rest with water on the front end and the back end. And believe it or not, that's a step in the right direction because it's more water than you would have gotten. And maybe to help go back to the original question of water is going to cleanse you. It's going to make your skin more radiant. It's going to make your energy levels come up. It's going to wash your bowels of any excrement that doesn't belong in there. And because, you don't have hands that can go down and, clean
The brush, right.
the brush, but water erodes things off the lining. And then what if we incorporate a little bit of protein and fats in our breakfast and our lunch? So it doesn't mean our whole day has to be perfect, but let's say that, or maybe it's breakfast and dinner. You pick 2 meals out of your day that is really good, where normally you go, there's going to be donuts at work, and then I've got a party tonight, and then I've got a thing tomorrow. Hey, look, pick your battles. Know what's coming and pick where you're going to, falter. And so remember, people don't plan to fail. They just fail to plan. So we've got to look through our week, especially in the holidays, and say, where is it this week that I'm potentially going to have my blood sugar go askew? And if my blood sugar is potentially already, spiking, just thinking about the office party, at the end of the week, or thinking about the office, or that they always have donuts on Wednesdays, or whatever the occasion is, because like you said, the world today is built around food. It's built around pleasurable food. Yeah. Everybody loves loves a good meal. So, well, let's know where those meals are at throughout our week, and then let's be prepared for that meal. We either, hey, I don't have time to eat this morning, so I'm going to fast. I'm going to do intermittent fasting for the next 8 hours. Great. Then do intermittent fasting. And you don't realize it, but the average American has 10 to 15 meals caked up inside of them. Literally 10 to 15 meals caked up inside of them. And I think that's why people have a hard time losing weight, because they're full of trash and toxins.
Here's a comment from Karen, and it was about the water. I thought it was kind of funny, but you talk about stuff inside of you. She said, does that mean I'm not fat but flooded? Talking about when drinking a lot of water, like bloated.
And so I think that is a great appreciation for what I'm saying, is that the fat cells can swell up 7 times the size of normal. So if you've tried everything under the sun and nothing's working, then first come in to Living Well Clinical Nutrition Center. This is what we do, is we look at and evaluate your intake of food. We want to see what are you putting in your body on the regular, and then start course correcting. Because what we'll find is, you eat sugary sodas, sugary drinks 3 to 4 times a day, or you never drink water, so you're dehydrated, or you eat pastries for breakfast, and some sort of mid-afternoon sandwich, and then pastas for dinners. This is what most people are getting into, and the body, when it can't keep up with its workload, it stores toxins in our brain. That's why we can't remember names, numbers, and words, or we struggle with information coming into our head and processing it. We don't learn well. We struggle with joint pain because the body is pushing toxins into the joints, and we have what's called arthritis, or what I like to call arthrongus, because there's nothing rightus about it.
That's correct.
And that's right. I love that. And good job. And then, of course, the fat cells are a nice, wonderful storage tank. They can swell up 7 times the size of normal. And if you think about nature's solution to pollution is dilution. I'm going to say it again. Nature's solution to pollution is dilution. Well, it makes sense in a body that is adaptive to its surroundings. It has the ability to dilute the concentration of toxin in your body. And a toxin, by definition, is anything your body cannot use. And so anything that your body cannot use, it either eliminates, hopefully, or it stores in a safe haven. But the way it does that is it takes up minerals from your normal operating system. So now you're minerally deprived. Metabolism begins to dip. Your electrical capacity, your energy begins to dip. And water begins to be retained, because nature's solution to pollution is dilution. So if you've got a high toxic burden, and you do, if you've got allergies, if you've got headaches, if you've got sore throat, itchy, watery eyes, if you have skin rashes, if you got belly pain all the time, if you struggle having a bowel movement every day, if you're not sleeping well at night, if you find yourself more prone to anxiety over nothing, like, you know what I mean? Like, some people have legitimate stresses that would give them reason to have anxiety.
Yeah.
Other people, they're like, my life is great. I don't know why I'm feeling like this. This is nuts. I had that conversation yesterday with a patient, and it came down to minerals. They just got into too much irritating food over the holiday. It irritated their GI tract. It's caused their blood sugar to go on this wavy tract up and down, and it created a space for their body to be irritable. We get them back on track over the next few days, and then all of a sudden their body starts performing well, getting their water intake up, flushes out the toxins. Now your body doesn't need to hold as much water, so this fat cell doesn't have to be as swollen.
Mm-hmm. I got a question about blood sugar.
Yeah.
There's food that will spike your blood sugar, right? Do you test yours regularly, and should people? And how do you do that? What does that look like?
So I do not test my blood sugar regularly with a blood stick meter.
You would stick yourself with something?
But typically the way you do it is you can buy a blood poker from the Walgreens or the Walmart and poke your finger, stick your blood in the little machine. It'll do your fasting blood sugar in the morning. And that's what you typically want, is your fasting blood sugar in the morning. And so what we do to check people's blood sugars, when we run a blood panel, we always look at blood sugar, triglycerides, the cholesterol ratios, and lactose dehydrogenase, so this is another marker, carbon dioxide, another marker, and insulin, and then hemoglobin A1C. So we have biomarkers in our blood panels that we run on patients that help us and help patients with their report card. A blood test is a report card of what you've been doing, good and bad, over the last 3 to 6 months. Okay? And so we look at the report card, and if you see somebody's blood sugar in the, say, 115 range, or which one is, 80 to 120 is technically normal. Really, they want it actually below 100 now, which I think is good. We need to tighten the reins on it. But originally, back even when I was in school, I guess 15 years ago, it was 80 to 120. It was what was being talked about. But now what I see on the lab ranges is it's under 99 is where they want it, fasting blood sugar. But if you see the triglycerides are normal, like between 70 and 85, and most people that are going, that's not my triglyceride levels, they're in the 150s or the 180s or the 200s. That means that you're overindulging in starches. So I can tell whether or not you're eating well based on what those triglyceride numbers are doing.
You just look at the report card, and it kind of tells everything that's going on.
It really does.
Yeah.
If your triglyceride report is good, but your blood sugar is moderately higher than it ought to be, 115 even, it's still in the normal range of what is originally classified as okay, we know that your blood sugar, what it did during the night is it crashed on you. And so you didn't actually get good sleep last night. And so then we can go back and assess, okay, what's going on? Why am I eating a low-carb diet? My triglycerides are coming down, my cholesterol is coming down, but my blood sugar is still hovering in that 109 to 105 range. That is a blood sugar crash in the middle of the night. And that blood sugar crash in the middle of the night can be remedied. And I'm thinking, of a patient right now that has this very problem, and I hope she's listening, because what I want you to try to do is, why don't we eat a little protein at dinner time, or I'm sorry, at bedtime? And that could be a piece of chicken, that could be some turkey, I would say probably light in those two respects. Maybe even eggs, you could potentially have at bedtime, an egg. You don't want to overeat, but just a little bit of protein to put a log on the fire to keep your blood sugar stable through the night, so that you don't get that spike in the morning. Because that spike in the morning, when it's 105, 110, 115, and your triglycerides are normal, that means your blood sugar crashed on you during the night, and your body course corrected, and you lost quality in your sleep pattern, even if you don't remember it. But you might have remembered it. Oh, I woke up and peed last night. Or, oh, I had a nightmare last night. Or I kicked off the covers because I was hot.
So your blood sugar could be controlling, if you're dreaming or crazy stuff or getting up, that spikes and it just kind of wakes you up.
That's right.
Other stuff goes on.
And because there's a lot happening. They say that when you're sleeping, it is the 6 to 8 hours a day that we can all legally, safely be insane. There is so much activity in your brain at in the night hours when we're asleep, because what is the brain doing? Well, first it's taking a bath. The first 2 to 3 hours of sleep are the brain getting clean. It's like I think of a cruise ship coming in, and as soon as it ports and you're walking off the boat, or you're yawning and walking out on your balcony and looking down, you see guys painting the ship. It's because when the boat comes in, they're doing maintenance on it immediately. You can't paint the outside of the ship when it's out, 50 miles off the coast. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And but when it comes in, sure enough, there's people out there doing whatever it is they need to do to take care of the boat so that it lasts. Well, the same with your body. When your body goes into a sleep cycle, it cleanses itself, it bathes itself, it starts to move short-term memory into long-term memory, and these are processes that must happen, and why it's so important that we're getting good sleep. So we have to look at the holidays as a obvious time where people don't sleep well because too much sugar, number one. They're causing spikes. So when you have spikes in blood sugar throughout the day, because when you eat a sugar substrate, you get a elevation in blood sugar. Depending on how much sugar or how much carb that you put into your body is the speed at which that climb happens. So if you eat a piece of candy and a soda, for example, you put a boatload of sugar in your coffee, and then you put and you chase that down with a bagel, all of a sudden you get a pretty steep spike in blood sugar. And what happens is that blood sugar goes too high, and your body has to overcompensate insulin to manage that, because it's just like, I got to throw something down in there. It doesn't have time to calculate the amount of sugar rise that's coming, so it overcompensates, and it drops your blood sugar too low. So now you're on this roller coaster ride of blood sugar. When you have this blood sugar ride of roller coaster, it creates arterial stress. If Ashley, if you're out there listening, you should post our blood sugar quiz. We have a blood sugar quiz that we give to patients, and it's a very simple, questionnaire that you can assess yourself and find out if you're addicted to sugar.
Man, so the issue with those kind of quizzes is that I can lie.
Yeah.
It's like, well, I don't want to get in trouble. I want to be right. The report card that you talked about, like the blood sugar test.
It's harder to lie.
Yeah, you can lie on that. It tells the truth. 3 to 6 months. Like, I don't know. I didn't study for this.
Yeah.
Would I have studied if I had the chance? No, probably
It's
not.
so funny. I had a patient come in. So I do these other tests. It's called a brain span test. And what the brain span test is, it shows us neural inflammation, brain inflammation. It shows us cardiovascular inflammation. It shows us brain processing speed, resilience of the brain, how flexible is your brain. I mean, it shows us so many cool tests.
Wow.
I mean, it's a really neat test, and it's a really easy test. But I had a patient do it yesterday, and she's a recovering cancer patient, and so we got her on a pretty aggressive protocol right now, and because we basically have 5 years to keep make sure she's healthy, right, and before we let our hand off the throttle. We don't want to leave anything to chance. We want to do everything we can do to take care of this woman. And so she goes, "What? Well, but can we do the test in 2 weeks? Give myself some time." Her daughter pipes up and goes,
I gotta study.
"That's because you ate like junk the last 3-4 days." And she goes, "Yeah, I might have." And she's stirring in her seat, and but no. And I was like, no, let's go ahead and do it, because it'll show you something, and I can email you the test, when it comes back in, and it's a great test. It doesn't measure blood chemistry like my normal standard, triglyceride, cholesterol, hemoglobin A1C, all these other mineral tests, liver test, thyroid test that I'm looking at, but it's a different test. And so testing is fun, because testing is a way. Russell Jaffe has these biomarker tests, and he's in his 70s, and this guy says, "I want to be 120 and dancing, and I want you with me." And I've always told patients, I want to be 125, fully functional in spirit, mind, and body, and I want you with me. I want everybody to have the chance to live their best life, and to live it now, and to live it in the future. Mm-hmm. Nobody knows the days, nobody knows the hour for which we will leave. But God Almighty does. But he also said in the scripture, and I wish I knew where it exactly was, but it's in the Gospels, and he says, we've got to be ready because we don't know when the bride, groom will arrive.
Mm-hmm.
And so we have to be ready in season and out of season. So even though this is the season of Thanksgiving, the season of overindulgence, the land of blood sugar spikes and crashes, office parties, this is and that's reasons.
It's the most
excuses.
wonderful time of the year, pretty much.
It is the most wonderful time of the year. And it is a great time. But let's also be mindful and be ready and not just throw our 3 sheets to the wind and overconsume, because I'm telling you, if your minerals dip, your brain isn't going to perform as well. You're going to feel palpitations. You're going to feel like jitters. You're going to feel cravings. And if you have these symptoms right now and you're listening to me go, wow, this guy's reading my mail, I want you to go, I'm going to call Living Well Clinical Nutrition Center.
How can they get hold of you?
Yeah, 281-554-8600, or visit our website, justlivewell.com. And remember, we've got some great quizzes on our website. We've got great places for you to start the journey at www.justlivewell.com. And we want you to know that Living Well is a resource. It is a trusted resource, a valued resource for you and your health care needs, no matter where you're at, no matter where your family's at. We want you to know that whatever you're going through, whether you're a child or a parent of a child, or whether you're in your elderly years and you've got symptom patterns that you were not genetically born with, give us a call. This is what we can help you with, 281-554-8600. And we give people tools, resources, and ideas. I'm so proud of Jennifer Withy. She's one of our nutritionists on staff at the office. And she has a patient that is really struggling just getting in the kitchen. Can anybody smash that like button if the kitchen's a little bit intimidating? And it's okay if that's you. It really is. Because we're going to find a solution to get you started. Just like I said earlier, even if eating half the cooking, drinking half the soda, and filling in the gaps with water is your first step, it's also your next best step, you see? And you've got to pat yourself on the back for the little wins. The power of micro goals and setting micro goals and celebrating micro wins whenever we accomplish a goal. You can quit your way to success. I've talked about this on previous shows. If you quit something, it means you started something. And so if every day you start your day right, but it doesn't always end well, you're moving forward, even though you don't maybe realize it. You just got to be cognizant of what you put in your body will feed your health or will destroy your health and feed disease, right? So it is literally as simple as that. Which army are you going to feed? And so start where you can. Start somewhere. It could be water. It could be protein for breakfast. It could be a little protein at bedtime. And we're leveraging food into the chemistry set to give us a result. So if you're struggling with migraines all the time, I want you to know that maybe you need an adjustment. Maybe neurologically, structurally, you need to be overhauled. We can do that at Living Well Clinical Nutrition Center. Or maybe your hormones. Every time you have a cycle, you get migraines. And your cycles are just like you're being recommended and told that you've got to be on birth control. Hey, no. Let's try something different. That is so far down the rung. You can start at vitamins, minerals, essential fatty acids. You can start at glandular support, where we turn on glandular systems in your body to make them perform better because they're not working like they're supposed to.
So there's steps. There's steps in between you can take to see if it works for you.
Long before you integrate drugs.
Like the furthest. Let's open the fire hydrant and blow it all on there whenever you can just start with a single drop of water.
That's right.
And treat it.
And guys, it is work. It's easy. Or shall I say, it's simple, but not always easy. It's easy to say, hey, just walk past the donut, except when you're addicted to sugar, but I'm telling you, you can do it. But you really need the accountability. You really need somebody to get in there and do a timeline history where we're listening to your story. And that's what Jennifer and I and Dr. Amber do at our office. We're all about finding ways to get you to recognize where you can start course correcting. And that's half the battle.
Right now it's 9:35 a.m. on a Tuesday, talking to Dr. Aaron Chapa with Living Well Clinical Nutrition Center located in League City, Texas. This is KHEA Radio, 99.5 FM. Thank you so much for taking the time to tune in and listen. And if you're watching on Facebook, feel free to share this stream out, smash the share button, and let us know if you have any questions. There's something that I had a question about. You were mentioning this earlier, how whenever we go to sleep, your brain is cleansing itself. I've never heard any of this. That's cool. I've never heard that. So your brain is cleansing itself, taking those short-term memories, I guess filtering it through and seeing what needs to be saved as a long-term memory. Now, let's say my blood sugar spiked. Last week, I went crazy. I had, the desserts. It was Thanksgiving. I was very thankful. Let's just say that. And so does that mean if I didn't get good sleep, my blood sugar spiked, some of those memories that I had may have trouble converting from the short term to the long term?
It's right. And that's why even as a kid, I remember they say before you take the pre-SAT or the SAT or a big exam on the end of the week, you always want to eat a good dinner and you want to eat a good breakfast. And what that was, should have been would be eggs and bacon, or sausage and bacon and eggs, or some protein. It could be you've got to get something that doesn't spike your blood sugar. It could be a rice protein drink. It could be something that doesn't have the impact on your blood sugar to spike up at night and or spike up in the morning, so that you're now kind of crashing by the time you get to the test. And yes, if your blood sugar is up and down through the night, and it doesn't have to be like extreme diabetes, you understand, to have a long-term memory problem. But you have a system in your brain called the glymphatic system. And I said not lymphatic, that's your body's trash elimination system. Your brain's elimination system is the glymphatic system. And many people haven't even heard of this, but it is most active in the first 3 hours of your sleep cycle. And so we've got to get your body and to be able to fall asleep. So if you struggle falling asleep, you could have blood sugar issues. You could also, primarily, it's a mineral problem. Like you don't have enough minerals to shut your body down. And so the brain needs mental breaks, and we use minerals to do that. I use a product in the office called Mentran. I use a product called Sleep Force. I use a product called Kava. I even use calming B vitamins. Most people think all B vitamins are stimulatory. They think of a B12 shot that gives them energy through the day. But I give people B vitamins at bedtime that are more of your fat-soluble B vitamins, and they calm the body down. It gives people a calm, cool energy, because we don't realize this, but think about sleep for a moment. You think you're tired and you think you should just close your eyes and go to bed. But how many people are like restless when they go to bed? Their calves ache, their feet are throbbing, they have Charlie horses, but as they crawl in bed, and they're like, why is this happening while I'm in bed? If it happens every night at the same time, and they can't figure out the solution. Well, that's their body crying out for nutrition. It's starving in an area, and as the body starts its wind down process, systems that haven't been active all day are now kicking on, and they need a level of nutrition to activate. And if that nutrition has been depleted because you either consumed too much sugar or you didn't consume enough nutrition from the food that you were eating, because maybe you were eating make-believe food or fake food. It gave you calories, but we call those empty calories. It caused your blood sugar to be off, and it caused your body to be lacking in a department that caused you to have a Charlie horse or a cramp at night. And then you're going, wow, what happened with that? That's your body shifting from one department to another and calming the body down for sleep. There's dials that are being turned down so that your body can go into a sleep cycle, because getting your body to fluctuate as deep as subconscious states as REM sleep is, rapid eye movement, stage 4 sleep, is not an easy process. And you need 4 to 5 of those sleep cycles a night. And they're about an hour and a half interval each, an entire sleep cycle going through stages 1 through 4 all through the night. And so we should be getting a minimum of 6 to maximize those sleep cycles for appropriate detoxification, for appropriate regeneration, and appropriate long-term memory filing. And when you don't sleep well, your body doesn't hold on to the memory well, and over time you start developing memory loss or Alzheimer's, or dementia, then to Alzheimer's, and then you start seeing the brain really decline, and it's because of a lack of sleep. We've got to get people recognizing that you have to sleep. You have to sleep, and it's typically a mineral, a calming, fat-soluble B vitamin issue, or even essential fatty acids or blood sugar issues. And so we can get in there and help people recognize where their body's breaking down. That's what we do with our timeline history. We help them see like all the years that they've been doing it this way, because practice does not make perfect. Perfect practice makes perfect, right? And our bodies are not perfect; they're adaptive, right? So if we give our body enough resources, enough tools, the body knows how to adapt and through the different circadian rhythms of the day. And so everybody's got a circadian rhythm, sleep-wise, energy-wise, metabolism-wise, hormone-wise, throughout the days, weeks, and months.
Does your body just start to assume, like, hey, for the past year, they've been eating pasta for lunch, so I'm going to go ahead and start insulin, and
at certain times of the day.
Yeah.
And that's absolutely right. And that's where that's where the cravings come in.
That's what I wonder, because sometimes if you're out of town, let's say you're on vacation, but you're used to waking up every day at 5 o'clock, 5:30, 6, 7, whatever time you wake up, you just kind of wake up and it's like, man, I don't have to wake up today, and my body just woke myself up. It makes sense that it would work for the stuff that you can't see.
That's right.
On the inside.
The body's mechanistic. It wants patterns, and it wants and loves routines. And so the body, one of the reasons it's so hard to set a new habit is because the amount of resource it is to blaze a new neural pathway is a lot of work. And the brain, I don't want to say is lazy, but it's efficient. So to blaze a new trail, it's like, do we have to? I mean, we can do it this way all this time, and I just rather just run this pathway.
Yeah.
And so we have to train the brain, train the body, train the cells to line up with what we speak. Like life and death is in the power of the tongue. It's interesting. Food touches the tongue. You know what I mean? And so not only in the power of our words, but in the power of choice that we put in. Nothing below our taste buds, nothing below your taste buds wants the sugar, I assure you.
Dr. Chapa, that may be part of the title of your book, either Life and Death, and it has the mouth with like an apple or something, or the power of the tongue, and you can tie that in. That may be it right there.
No, and dude,
because I've never heard that revelation before until I heard it from you.
Yeah, and wow, what a cool thought, right? Like, really, Dr. Chapa, we're that much in control. Not only can we speak death over ourselves, but we can also taste death into ourselves.
Yeah.
I mean,
and it tastes good.
And it does. It's so tempting.
For a season.
And for a season, right up until, it's not like technology.
Can I get an amen, Crystal?
Amen.
There it goes. Thank you.
And so it is amazing that we are in more control of our health than we realize. And we've just got to get people on board with that conversation. A lot of people just rather just stick their head in the sand and say, well, I just rather just kind of turn a blind eye and let life happen to me instead of ride the wave of life. I'd rather ride an adventurous wave, and I'm a little bit of a thrill seeker and a little bit of a risk taker. And so, I might be willing to ride a bigger wave than somebody else, but it doesn't matter as long as I'm not getting pelted by it. I don't want to get hit by a wave. I mean, you've seen those.
I want to ride the wave.
Those movies where the guy gets whacked and he almost drowns, or he gets blasted into coral and he's injured. And I'm thinking, wow, like I don't want to be that guy. I want to be the guy that's on the big board and is like monumental, sets a world record, and get to the end and people go, hoorah and cheer. Well, that hoorah and cheer for me is, well done, good and faithful servant of the Lord. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That would be a good analogy for my life, that I want it to count for the hallowing of the Lord's name. People ask all the time, what do I pray for the most? And I remember getting a sermon from a man named John Piper, and I think it was like 2001 or 2006 whenever he did the message, and I have it digitally on my phone. I don't think I have a CD of it anymore. But, somebody asked him the same question, and since then I've kind of adopted a lot of what he said because it resonated with me. Like it was like my Holy Spirit, made me jump when I heard that. And first and foremost, my prayers for the salvation of my kids, and that they come to know the Lord early in life, and that they don't have to go through the misery and heartache and pains of the hard knock life to find Christ. That they can have a new story and get started in their walk with the Lord earlier in life, and they can learn who the Holy Spirit is in their life. But outside of that, being my number one probably prayer would be that my life would count for the hallowing of God Almighty, through Christ Jesus our Lord. And I think that if I'm sick all the time, if you look at what illness is, you're only reflecting on your issues. You don't have outreach power. You don't have conversational power. You're only focused on your problems. And I think that illness is a trap. It's one of the schemes of the devil for you to identify with whatever illness pattern you have. So, my challenge to all that are hearing me speak is that if you find yourself identifying with my autoimmune disorder, my rheumatoid arthritis, my belly pain, my migraines, whatever, stop that and recognize that those are things that are happening nonetheless, but it doesn't have to define you. And you can do something different and change up what you're doing. And because that's what we do in the office. If something isn't working and we're used to it working, we're changing it. But we find that a lot of times people want an instant fix, and we in a weird way have to slow down enough and recognize that, look, it's okay if you have to warm your food up on the stove and stop storing it in plastic, and filter your water and take some nutrients, and the things that I'm willing to do to stay healthy. I have to somehow convey to you guys that are hearing my voice and all my patients that in my family as an example. I'm a lead learner. I don't have it all figured out, but that's okay. I know how to get where I'm at, and I think where I'm at is a pretty good space, and I've helped a lot of people get out of the boat that they were in of sickness, disease, and identifying in that space and finding themselves. I had a lady in yesterday. I was so excited. She comes in from Louisiana, and she was 12 years she was on painkillers, big-time painkillers, multiple painkillers, and still was in pain.
Yeah.
And, and working on her body was really hard to work on, body-wise, because it was so tense and tight. It's like her spine was locked up because of the amount of chemical toxicity she had floating around in her body. And I think now for the last 3 months, we've been drug-free, painkiller-free, and she has less pain by about 75%. And so does she still have stuff going on? Yeah, we just gotta. Now we're in a new level of health care, right?
So she has less pain than she did when she was on all the painkillers.
Yeah. And she's off the drugs and
Yeah.
less pain. Is like almost like what the painkillers were supposed to be doing in alleviating pain was actually contaminating her body, restricting her body, and causing another type of pain in her body. Very interesting thought. And so getting her to a point strong enough where she could get off the drugs now has given us an opportunity now where we can detox and start the regeneration process. And, the spine takes 7 years to remodel itself. So it's not something that happens overnight, unfortunately. But it doesn't mean that you're going to be in pain for 7 years. But, man, this lady's very thankful that she's 70, 75% better than she was, and she's drug-free, even though she takes a lot of supplements. Well, that's okay, because the supplements are not addictive things. They are driving the body to be fueled and adapt to its surroundings way better than being on crutches. Who moves better? A person that has a fully functional leg and extremity system, or somebody that's in a wheelchair or missing a limb?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm sorry if that's you, but you're limited. You know what I mean? And it doesn't mean that you can't be powerful, but it's just but there is a level of limitation that you've got to work with to deal with that. And so the hope is that we can get people off crutches, and whether that is a medication, finding themselves always going in for surgeries. I had a patient come in that was always getting gum disease surgery. Like every time she turned around, she was at her periodontist getting gum disease grafts. And I finally told her, I said, look, no more. Like, we're done with this. We're going to do it a different way. And she goes, well, what are we going to do? I said, we're going to start supporting the microvasculature of your tissues, and we're going to do things. So we did like hawthorn and bilberry and really circulatory, deep-rooted work to open up those channels of the capillary beds to get better nutrition in there. We taught her breathing techniques. We did this program that I love called sequential immune upregulation. It took about 90 days to really get the foundation set. And so sometimes, guys, there is time that you have to invest whenever you've been doing it your way for 12 years. I mean, this lady didn't get better overnight, but she stuck with it, and I'm so proud of her. And the same with the lady that got off the painkillers. It didn't happen overnight, but every month was better than the last. And that's the game, is you've got to stick with it long enough. And if you're not willing to stick with it long enough, then and give it a fair shot. I mean, if you've had back pain for 2.5 years and you're only going to give us 3-4 visits to fix you, well, come on, man. I mean, you're looking for the same thing everybody else is looking for, winning the lottery.
The magic pill.
Yeah. I want $1 million too, but I don't want to work. I mean, everybody wants that. But that's not the way it's designed. We're designed to work. We're designed to labor. We're designed to work with the resources that we have, and we have to put adult time frames on the conditions that we've been dealing with for years. And it's approximate that for every 5 years you're sick, it'll take 1 to truly recover. And that's a real adult time frame, and it's a bitter pill to swallow. You think I give you a lot of supplementation to support your body's chemistry. Man, the hardest pill I got to get you to swallow is the fact that it takes time. Time.
You talk about like the suddenlies, a case of the suddenlies, but I think the reason that happens is because you just don't. It sneaks up on you. It sneaks up on you. Like, oh well, there's something here, and it almost hurts, but not really. And then the next day it's worse. But next thing you know, it's 10 years later, and it's like, when did my knee start? As long as I can remember, it's always hurt.
Yeah,
and it suddenly happened.
And in society blames it on what? Age. Society says, oh, that's just what happens when you get old. And, I've got 70-year-old people in my office that haven't been on medications in 10 years that they've been under our care. We've had some that have gone 2 or 3 years and then they have a fallback, look, stuff's going to happen, right? But, man, if we could get you using chemicals less often and get your body detoxing more effectively, balancing your blood sugar and evaluating your report card every 3 to 6 months more effectively, and helping you see what things you need to course correct throughout your year, what do you think that's going to do when your kids start watching you change? And we'll teach you what your blood work says. We're not going to just say, oh, it looks great. Good job, Johnny.
Yeah, it teaches awareness, showing that you care. And, that you don't realize it, but my daughter, like, I go to the gym. I like going to the gym. I like going often, right? And, she sees me get home, whatever time I get home, and she's like, how was your exercises? She's 2 years old. And I'm like, hey, can you exercise? So she, jumps up and does their, like, and it's funny. But I'm hoping that will set into her, like, oh, yeah, that's just what you do. That's what we do.
And in the same way with your diet, kids especially, and all of us that, here that have children, you've all heard it, but it is just absolutely so true that, kids never do what they are told to do as much as they do what they see modeled in front of them. And, my kids, my daughter helped make the Brussels sprouts with me for Thanksgiving, and we even modified the recipe. Called for balsamic vinegar, but my mother-in-law doesn't like balsamic vinegar, so we threw in some pomegranate seeds in it, and it was awesome. I mean, it gave a different texture, and it wasn't on the recipe. It didn't say asterisk option. We were just like, well, what can we put in there that gives it that little bit of a zangy taste? And we were like, oh, well, let's throw in some pomegranate seeds, and she loved it, and we loved it, and we just changed our normal recipe just by one ingredient because it changed the texture, which made the whole meal taste different.
Yeah.
And so my daughter learned something in that you could change one ingredient, to accommodate somebody. So we're serving somebody else by changing the ingredient to be accommodating, and we actually in a sense kind of made it different and unique. So my daughter calls it sparkly Brussels sprouts. It's one of her favorite things, that she's proud of making. And I think if I can get two of my kids really know how to cook these well, my 8-year-old Alexi and Kinley, my 13-year-old, if I can get, my daughters cooking in the kitchen at that early age, I think that especially Brussels sprouts, they're going to figure out, oh, it's a little of this and a little of this. And people, when they're 20, 25, and 30 years old, 40 years old, having their own families, people are going to go, how do you know how to do that? I don't know. I've been doing it like this all my life. It was modeled before me that we cook on the stove. We don't use microwaves. We cook this way, and we throw these spices in, and we leverage this for flavor and this for texture. And it's just we've trial and error. We've made dishes that stunk, not only stunk but tasted really bad too, And we toss it, and we either and there's been nights where the whole meal was so bad that we just said, all right, out to eat, everybody in the car, and who cares?
Yeah.
It's good to see failure happen and to be able to fall through it successfully.
Yeah, that's one thing that you said earlier too, and I wanted to bring that back up. Even a failure, you can find something positive in that. Hey, at least I did it for this long and had the opportunity to fail. Now, how can I
and get back on the
do
horse?
This right? So, like, I was sharing on Sunday with somebody on the music team at church, right, about how it was a little difficult to eat okay, out of town, and they're like, oh, you just like, I don't think they said fail, or they said something like that, and I said, you wouldn't understand. You wouldn't understand. That's not what happened. And I was like, I don't have time to go through like what I have to go through up here to mentally be able to do what I do.
That's right.
To do what you do, on our own scale. I said, I can't. I was like, I don't have, the service is about to start. I got like 10 minutes. I can't explain to you. I ate differently, but I did not fail. I'm picking myself back up, and I got to course correct. So.
And I think every day, they say airplanes course correct all the way to their landing site. They're never on track per se, but as long as they're always course correcting. And that's why we encourage you to be under care. Come to our office. Living Well Clinical Nutrition Center is here for you. We want to have you under care. We want you regularly under care. Minimum once a quarter, once a month, once every 2 weeks, depending on the level of accountability you need. We'll help you build that into your care plan. And we sit down as a team and we think about, our patients and what their needs are. Like, some patients really do need weekly care because they just, left to their own devices, they are prone to wander. We're all prone to wander in many ways. And so accountability is a huge, huge thing. That's why you go and you look forward to weigh in and check in. And you're too young to be worried about that stuff. But the reality is that's one of the tools that helps you gauge where you're at. You're reading your signs. And when you have gauges built into your life, whether it's weight, whether it's body fat, whether it's a check-in, whether it's a food log, whatever it is, a visit to Living Well Clinical Nutrition Center so that we can, of course, get you back on point, whether it's an adjustment, whether it's, hey, I want to be under care. Like, what is it that y'all are doing? Why do y'all go to so many seminars? I mean, heck, last month we were at 2 seminars. The month before that, I think we were at a seminar with multiple staff members. Like it wasn't just an Aaron going and getting educated. Our clinicians seek new information always, and to bury the pillar of health deeper into us so that we can really help y'all understand what it takes in the 21st century to be healthy, because the world today is not really conducive for you to be health conscious. It's you walk in the stores and the candy's the first thing you see, the pastries are the first thing you see, and believe you me, all of that is very much studied. Mm-hmm. They know exactly where they want their product to hit, what buttons it needs to hit for you to purchase, and why the candy's at knee level high. Why the most prime source things are at eye level so that you don't have to look down or be inconvenienced to bend over. I mean, everything is on a shelf for a reason and in a strategic spot to compete for your food dollar. And so, you've heard shop the perimeter. You heard on this show, you start with breakfast, start with water intake. We just start integrating ideas, and it is a mind game. And that's why we don't want you just to say, well, it's December, I'm just going to chalk up the whole month to cheat month. No, don't do that. Let's leave the week, let's just go cheat week. But let's get ready for cheat week by eating clean the rest of the month. And that way when we come out of cheat week, we only have 3 days of reboot. Then it takes, the full 21-day detox to reboot. Mm-hmm. That way you've got 17 days of benefit from the detox, only 3 days to reboot. How cool is that?
Yeah.
And that's the powerful level of the Ultimate Detox Re-Experience Project is we're trying to get people to recognize you need a 21-day vacation from the stress, stimulants, and junk that you've been putting in your body the last 6 months. And I look at the detox like a reboot maintenance for the last 6 months of your living. Because when you do detox well, it should last 6 months, meaning you should make good, healthy choices 75 to 80% of the time naturally. You shouldn't have to work at it and be challenged by it and stressed about it. It should be natural, and it should last for approximately 6 months. It's when you start feeling good that you start falling off that wagon and you start realizing, wow, man, I'm pretty far off the wagon. And when you're off the wagon, it is hard sometimes to get back on it. And some people just don't get back on it. Some people literally fall off and they just, I can't do that. I don't want to go back to that. But all that is I believe spiritual warfare. I believe your body's infallibility, your body's weakness. If the spirit is willing, the flesh is weak. And I think that accountability is the first ticket option back on the horse. You need to be under care. Living Well Clinical Nutrition Center is good for you. And it's good for you because we care. And we will support you. We're not going to yell. We're not going to, make you feel belittled. We're going to support you, educate you, and drive you to success. And you just got to show up. And that's what we tell patients all the time. If you stick with it long enough and you follow through with the recommendations to the best of your ability, not perfection, but to the best of your ability, and you're going to get better. Everybody does. And so it doesn't matter what you've been diagnosed with. It doesn't matter what your conditions are or symptom patterns are. Whatever you've developed over the last 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, recognize that it doesn't have to remain that way.
You can burn a new neural pathway.
Every day. You can start today. And when's the best time to plant an oak tree?
30 years ago.
Yeah. When's the next best time?
Today.
Mm-hmm. Today's the day. And so I pray that you all be well. Living Well Clinical Nutrition Center, loves and cares about all of you. I'm so glad that to be tuning in with you, Gardy. Crystal, thanks for being here. It's so awesome. KHEA Radio is amazing. And, we have a powerful message of hope. We have a powerful message of positivity. We have, a great, station that we can tune into every week. And that really, with technology, we can share it with loved ones, friends. If you miss the show because you're working or whatever, man, tune in later. Catch segments of it. And I believe that a lot of the stuff that I say are what we call nugget talks. Even if you miss the first 15 minutes, you're going to get something from 15 to 20. Or if you or hit 30 to 35, wherever you can, put the information in your head and be mindful of it. Like, make yourself be a student of the practice. And I'm only up here teaching from what my practice has taught me over the last 15 years and what I've seen mentors do over the last 35 years. And not that I've been in practice 35 years, but I get to stand on the shoulders of those that have gone before me. And I see the ability to speak into people's lives, a great call. You know, to much is given, much is required. To much is given, much is asked. You know, I'm held at a high level of responsibility and accountability myself. So, you know, I'm not perfect all the time, but I'll tell you what, I definitely participate in the process. I'm in that, you know, 85, 95% on point all the time, and I know when I'm going to fall, and I course correct. What's my strategy to get through that fall? What's my strategy to get out of that fall? And so that whenever I hit the ground, it's more of a shoulder roll, not a flat on my face KO. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And nobody likes that.
You know, Uncle Ben told Spider-Man, with great power comes great responsibility. I feel like you're the Spider-Man of our area.
Hey, amen to that, dude. That is awesome. I'm gonna have to adopt that motto. That is a powerful, you know, little thought. Because and I do thank you. I want to be that. You know, it's good for me. It's good for everybody else. And that's what we're here for, is to be a light for Christ and a light for people to have hope that they don't have to live like they're living.
You know, the other thing that came to mind while you were talking was, you know, that's a nugget. It's a nugget. And I know it's supposed to be like a golden nugget, but I think of chicken nuggets whenever I hear a nugget. So I was thinking, what if we called it like, that's a golden Brussels sprout, or that's a golden Brussels. That's a Brussels. Because it's about, you think of a nugget, it's like the size of a Brussels sprout. So like, hey, here's a Brussels. And it's like, oh, man.
Yeah, that's right.
That was good. That's like a golden Brussels. It's worth its weight in a golden Brussels sprout.
That's right. I like it. And my office, we call it carrots, actually. Oh, carrots for everybody. You know.
Here you go.
Yeah, that was a win. carrots. And so yeah, man, the show's awesome. I love being here with everybody. Hope everybody enjoyed the show. Share it, like it.
Do it.
And we'll be back next week.
Today, right now, it's 10:06 on a Tuesday. This is KHEA Radio, 99.5 FM. All right, Facebook. Y'all be blessed. Have a good day. See you tomorrow.